friends. We are back. What episode are we on? 4 now? Wow, 4? Really? Is this really episode 4? Is this true? Is this true? Hold on, I'm fact checking myself. Is this really episode 4? Really? It really is episode 4. Wow, we're here on episode 4, guys, and it's been a great journey so far. I've had a lot of fun. I hope you have too, and we're all hard on ourselves, and, the tendency would be to be like, well, it sucks, no one likes it, but everyone's been saying very nice things to me about the podcast, so I'm very happy you enjoy it, and I'm happy that it's become, for many of you, a routine where you can listen to this early in your week to kind of, get your week going with some real talk. So I wanted to kick it off. I have a form, obviously. We've got some questions, and I have a notepad of things to talk about as well. I kind of have this like little notepad, and every time a topic, like I have a conversation with a friend or like a topic comes into my mind, I put it on there, and then I kind of use that to fill space. If we have an hour of questions, then I take an hour of stuff from that notepad as well. And it's a running notepad. There's topics that have been on there for weeks now that have not, had a chance to shine yet because they haven't needed to. But don't you worry. Someday they'll have their chance to shine. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about it. I had a very busy weekend. I went to 2 concerts for 2 of my favorite artists. On Friday, I went to see Neck Deep. They're a pop-punk band, similar in vein to like a Blink-182, if you're familiar with them. I actually saw them open for Blink-182 in 2019. That's how I learned about them the first time. So yeah, they're kind of similar to something like that. So did that on Friday, and then Saturday was Porter Robinson. I think everyone knows Porter Robinson these days. He's kind of popped off, especially in the furry community. It seems like everyone's a Porter Robinson fan. So both shows were really great, and I love live music. Like live music for me is such like it's like good medicine for my soul. Just listening to music, and especially like both of those artists have a lot of songs that have helped me through things, and like have like different vibes. Porter Robinson is kind of more uplifting music in general, and then Neck Deep is like, pop punk, like like fuck all the bitches, like you're like not necessarily you're angry, but you guys know what punk music is. It's the chance to just kind of yell and be excited. So that was an incredibly hype show on Friday, and it might have been my favorite of the 2, but yeah, I had a very nice weekend of live music, and like I said, it's always a great outlet for me. I'm such a high energy guy. It lets me get some energy out. I can sing for hours and dance and just go wild and kind of just let loose. So it's always a really, really powerful way for me to kind of get my feelings out there. So I made a note earlier in the week about music and how music forms a connection with people, and I just want to talk about that because I don't know. I don't hear people talk about it often, and I don't know if it's not something people think about, or if they do and they just they don't talk about. I don't know, but like music is such an incredibly powerful way to connect to people, and let me give you a really awesome example that I thought of earlier, because I listened to a song. If anyone's familiar with the song Who I Am Hates Who I've Been by Reliant K. So it's such a funny story because I still, to this day, 20 years later, I relate to that song to someone that I knew in elementary school that was on their MySpace page. And so like when I went to their MySpace page one time, I heard that song and I was like, oh, what's this song? And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, this song is cool. Like, I like this. And I don't talk to that person at all. But to this day, when I hear that song, I think of them. And I think that's such an incredibly cool connection. Another way music connects is also, I want to get back to that topic of people and how you connect with it. But it also, for me, it connects me to places. I have songs that I heard. A very memorable trip for me was when I went to New York about 14, 15 years ago or so. And there's certain songs that I heard while on that trip that I still, when I hear the song, I'm transported to where I was when I heard that song on that day all those years ago. And, older songs that I don't really listen to very often, but you still hear them on occasion, you know what I mean? Or they pop into your brain, you listen to it, and you're transported back there. I think it's so cool how music connects you to places as well. But in particular, people, like, I'll always have a connection to my old friend, from that Reliant K song that I don't listen to that song hardly ever. But when I do hear it, I'm brought back to thinking of them. And, like, certain songs, certain albums, like, I have albums that connect me with people. I have songs that connect me with people, and, like, even newer, like, music that I've connected with people on, like, I know in 10, 20, 30 years from now, I will still think of that person. And no matter what kind of mark, because I mean, I can say in general, like the person I'm thinking of, like, for that Reliant K song, they were a friend, but I wouldn't say they made, like, a huge mark on my life. Like, they were very, I don't want to say mid-tier, that sounds kind of, like, rude, but, like, they were an average friend. I wouldn't put them in, like, the good friend category. We didn't, there was no, like, deep connection there where we bonded to the point of, like, super connection, but they were, like, a fine average friend that I saw on occasion, talked to on occasion, like, totally fine. But, like, that song will always make me think of them. And people in my life, you never really know how long someone's going to be in your life or to what extent they're going to be in your life. But people I've shared music with, even this year or even in the past few years, or that they've shared music with me that's really resonated with me. Like, I think it's really awesome that music will forever connect me to that person, because I know there is music that I am listening to now that I'll be listening to in 10, 20 years, whatever, and I'll still be thinking of that person. And who knows, maybe, if I'm lucky, they'll still be a part of my life and we'll still talk and I can tell them that. But even if we're not connected, because you never know where life is going to take you, even if we're not connected in the future, I'll always have that music. And it's nice to just know that you can smile and you can think about someone, that was important to you, or is important to you, ideally, but, like, it definitely was important to you. And how music can connect you. And I think that's such an amazing thing. The reason why I thought of this was because I was driving and I heard a song from a very obscure album. And I'm not going to name the album because I really am looking forward to the day when I can share this album with someone special and form that connection. And I hope it will always make them think of me. But I'm saving it, right? It's like, if I say it now, you guys are going to go look it up, and I want to save it. So you never, I want to spring it on someone someday. And I hope that they will have that connection with me, because it's a very special album to me. And yeah, that just made me think of, like, how excited I was to share that with a special boy someday. And I hope that the album will mean something to them because I shared it with them, and I hope that it will hit them like it hits me. Because it is special when someone special to you shares an album or a song that's special to them. It's a really powerful connection. For me anyway, like, especially when I share something, like, more obscure, it's like, it's a connection. Like, this is something that's, like, it's a look into your soul almost, right? Like, this music is something that makes me tick, and it makes me, it makes me feel things, like, and I hope it makes you feel things too. It's another just way to be vulnerable, really. Like, this is something that connects to my heart, like this album, and I'm opening that up for you. So I don't know, just a kind of fun topic I just sort of thought about, and yeah, I'm excited to share that album with the special boy someday. But I'm also excited to forever have connections to special people in my life. Because of the music that they've shared with me and the music I've shared with them. And I hope that will never change. I mean, I don't think it will ever change. I can think of music from 20 years ago, like I said, where it still makes me think of someone that was maybe not active in my life now, but at one point they were very, I don't want to say that. That seems kind of sad. Like, they were very important to me. They're important to me, but we're just, we don't see each other. We don't talk to each other anymore. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just a cool way to remain connected to Those people in your life that that left an imprint on your life, and there's people that maybe came and gone. And again, it doesn't have to be people that came and gone. There could be, God for, like freaking what's the word I want to say? Like, if I'm fortunate in 10, 20 years, like you know, uh, I'll still have these connections with the people that I'm thinking of when I think of like music that I'm sharing with people in my current life or that they're sharing with me. I hope we'll still be connected, but you never know. You never know where life's going to take you. So all I can do is hope. But I know if for whatever reason we are not connected, in the future, we'll always have that music connect us, even if we don't have the physical connection or the talking online connection, whatever it may be. We'll still have that music, and I think that's a comforting thought. That's a comforting thought, because as long as you remember someone, they're always alive in your heart, right? So when you forget them, that's when they're gone. So having that music to keep them, remembered always by you, I think it's a really beautiful thing. So, all right, that is the music topic. So let's get into some questions on the form. Our wonderful question asker. Thank you, Game Orca, for always asking some questions to get our brain ticking. Game Orca asks on question number 1 from our forum: what are your thoughts on Digimon? How do you rate it compared to Pokemon? So that's a lovely question. And I'm sorry, I did see this question and I intended to answer it with an image. Unfortunately, I don't know, dude. I think Elon just ruined Twitter, because I was trying to find this image and I know for a fact, I searched and I went all the way back through my media and I couldn't find it. I know for a fact it is on there. I am 10 billion% sure that it's on there. But to answer your question, I love Digimon. I actually, at one point, owned every North American release Digimon game complete box. That's all the PS1 games. That's all the PS2, GameCube, Xbox, Game Boy Advance, DS, and, beyond, and the newer systems. I don't think I do now, because they released a few more, like on the Switch. I think there was a release, PS4. I don't know, but I did at one point own every release, and I have a huge Digimon game collection. I loved the Digimon games. Digimon World 1 was like a huge game that had an impact on me as a young lad. And I own a lot of Digimon stuff. Not as much as I own Pokemon stuff, but I own a lot of Digimon stuff. I mean, I have plushes, I have CDs, I have the DVD box set of Digimon. I have other collectibles. Like, if I see Digimon stuff, I'm going for it. I'm a huge Digimon fan, and really, like, the first 4-ish seasons were probably my favorite. But yeah, I'm a huge Digimon fan. It's hard to, it's kind of like edgy. Like, I like Digimon more than Pokemon. I'm edgy, but like, I don't like Digimon more than Pokemon. But I like Digimon a lot. It hasn't had as big of an impact on me as Pokemon, but as a fun thing, it definitely rates extremely highly for me. And I'd be happy to show you some of my stuff from my Digimon collection someday. Like I said, I have a lot of cool, I think, unique-ish stuff. Some really cool Digimon CDs, music CDs, and I know it's kind of boomer, right? You have CDs and DVDs and all this stuff, but I do, and they mean a lot to me. So yeah. I have a lot of Digimon stuff, and I'm a very big fan. I don't know. In an alternate reality, I could be the freaking Agumon or something. I don't know. Agumon was definitely my favorite as a kid. I'm not sure as an adult, but I was a big Agumon fan, and I still am. Agumon was definitely my boy when I was growing up. Sorry, I had a little sip of coffee there. I'm sipping on some coffee. It's a Sunday afternoon. We're just vibing, and big Digimon fan, Game Orca, definitely, and I'd be happy to share some of my stuff with you someday. I wish I could find that picture though. I don't know. Twitter is just borked. It's Elon. Elon's like, I don't give a damn about your Twitter. I'm gonna ruin it. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely had pictures of my Digimon collection up. I guess they've vanished into the void, and I really, at the time, it was annoying. I have to go to all these different shelves to get every Digimon game down, and then arrange them to look nice, and then I take the picture, then I have to put everything back nicely, and it's a lot of work. Okay, listen. Life is busy. I don't want to. But maybe someday I can take another picture, or maybe Elon will just fix his crap, or maybe I can just go back and find it, like on my old computer. Maybe it's on. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Everything is everything. Everything is everything. But yes, I love Digimon. Great, amazing, fantastic. 10 out of 10 series. I also like Monster Rancher. Any Monster Rancher fans out there? I know it's very unrelated. I mean, it's not really unrelated. It's kind of like another digital monster series, but I'm a big Monster Rancher fan as well. I have a lot of Monster Rancher stuff, believe it or not. Don't know if people know Monster Rancher too much these days, but I love Monster Rancher. Monster Rancher was up there as well. I mean, it's probably Pokemon, Digimon, then Monster Rancher in that order, in terms of my preferences, but that's not selling them short. I like all three quite a bit. So, yep, that is my thoughts on all those things. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts, Game Orca. Thanks for the question. But I say thanks for the question, but I know when I flip the script to the next question, it's going to be another you question. So we'll get right back. We'll get right back at you with another question. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear another of your questions be answered? Bam! Question number 2 from Game Orca. All right, so I warned the Game Orca that I looked at this question and I was ready to answer it, because I have a lot of thoughts. And I said to Game Orca, I was like, how like you guys, like Game Orca and Chili Mex and King Panda and all those guys who really love Kingdom Hearts, like could probably talk for like 10 trillion hours about like their preferences and how they rank different games compared to other games in the series. Well, anyway, Game Orca's question was which of the 3 classic Alone in the Dark games do you like the least? And that's a wonderful question. And I have a lot of thoughts. And I think I have an answer. But it's a kind of a... I feel like it might be an unexpected answer because a lot of... it's just... I don't know. Anyway, so let me give some thoughts. So Alone in the Dark 1. Definitely the scariest of the 3. And the one as a kid that kind of scared me. Like, I was afraid as a really young kid to play Alone in the Dark 1 the most because it was the scariest, right? So, like I tended to play 2 and 3 more because Alone in the Dark 1 was the scariest. And as a kid, I was scared of it. Legitimately, like, the freaking creature jumps through the window. Like, that's freaking scary, dude. And, so yeah, Alone in the Dark 1, let's talk about some good. We'll go down the list of the goods and bads for each of the 3. So Alone in the Dark 1, the good. The atmosphere is truly a horror atmosphere, and it has, by far, it's the most scary for sure. The atmosphere is definitely the best. It's such a creepy kind of manner. Then you go underground, and it's even more creepy. Like, it nails a really, really creepy, and the sounds, everything is very frightening. And even to this day... it doesn't scare me I'm pretty brave nowadays, but it definitely holds up as the best quote unquote horror game of the 3. On the flip side, I mean, I guess the negative would be that it is the oldest game. They're still working out the kinks of the game. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but honestly, it functions just fine. And I can't really say the actual functional gameplay is any worse than any of the others, but I mean, it is an older game. You can't do as much in the game as you can in the later games. But there's really not a lot to gripe about. It is a shorter experience than the other 2. So if you're looking for something a little longer, which, I mean, none of them are long, but Alone in the Dark 1 is definitely the shortest experience. But realistically, like, it does a lot of things right, and that horror atmosphere alone gives it a leg up on the second and third installments. So really, there's not a lot of negative to say. But anyway, let's talk about Alone in the Dark 2 now. So Alone in the Dark 2 is the game I played the most as a young lad. And I think it's just a very easy to pick up and play game. It's more lighthearted, right? So for me, I played it more as a kid because it wasn't as scary. It had a horror atmosphere, but it wasn't super scary, right? So it was a horror atmosphere. But yeah, not super like, oh God, I need my dad here, I'm scared. It's definitely Alone in the Dark 2, I love the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack for me is by far the best. I think the soundtrack in Alone in the Dark 2 is a masterpiece, and honestly, a good game soundtrack. Not even for an Alone in the Dark game, just in general. I think it's a good soundtrack. I mean, people joke about the Grace song being like catchy, but it really is. It's just a good video game track, especially for 1993 or whatever. Like, it's a good video game track. I like the lightheartedness. It feels very lighthearted and silly. Like even when we were playing this year and Game Worker was watching us play for the first time and commenting in chat, and like we put on the Santa Claus suit. They're like, "What in the world is this?" Like, it is a silly game. Like, you have to put on a freaking Santa suit, dude, so that the monsters don't attack you because you're Santa Claus. Like, it's very lighthearted. They weren't taking it too seriously. The bad parts would be just some of the gameplay isn't fun. They did rely a lot more on combat, and combat in Alone in the Dark is not great. So that's what I'm currently struggling with in the speed run. Is you have to kill a lot of the things. There's so many enemies, you have to kill them, and fighting enemies in Alone in the Dark is not fun. The optimal way is to cheese them in the corner like you guys see me do. In the speed run, you can't do that because you have to do it quickly. So it's very annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. That's very, very frustrating. So the combat is just not good. And while I really, really think the idea of the Grace section is cool, like I love the idea of like you're going to save this kid, but then the kid you have to save, they have to save you. Like, that's really, really freaking cool. But the Grace section is not fun. It's really not fun. No, very little fun about the Grace section. So unfortunately, while it's a great idea, I don't know how they would have made it more fun. I think they tried to make it fun by having, you got to put the molasses on the floor, you got to put the ice on the floor. Like, they really did try. They did their best, and I think they honestly did about as good as you realistically could have done in a section where it's a little girl and she can't fight, and like one person catching her, you die. They did as good as they could have done on that, but it's just not fun. It's not fun. They did try. I give them credit. Again, it's a really cool idea, and I can't say that, like, if I was the game designer at the time and I was like, oh my god, I have a good idea. Like, what if we make Grace have to save Edward now? Like, that's a cool idea. It's smart. But, and I can't lie, if that was me that came up with that idea, it's a good idea. And if I came up with that idea and then I'm like, okay, game designers, find a way to make it fun, I would probably just say, well, that's good enough. Like, I would put that in my game too. Because it's a really cool idea, and I wouldn't want to scrap such a cool idea just because you can't make the gameplay fun. But it's really not that fun. But at least they put some banger music, and it's a really cool idea, so they did as good as they could have done with it, but it's still not that fun. So there's definitely struggles. The combat is not fun, and there's a lot of it. And the Grace section, not fun, but there's a lot of it. But the lighthearted, jovial kind of atmosphere, the nice soundtrack, it's a memorable game, but a lot of areas it does fall short in terms of the actual gameplay of killing enemies. You guys see me. There's really no point that we're challenged in that game, other than the times when we get overwhelmed with too many enemies. Like, it's not a difficult game, but it is a frustrating game at times. But it's still a very memorable game, and for me, the lighthearted silliness, memorability. Is that a word? Memorability? The memorability of it, it trumps the fact that sometimes it's not all that fun. Like, it's memorable, though. It's memorable, and memorable, it's important. I like memorable, okay? All right? I like the fact that it's memorable, even if it's not perfect in every way. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's memorable, and I like it. So, that's all. Alone in the Dark 3. So Alone in the Dark 3 for me was probably the game I played the least of the trilogy, I think. But again, we're going to say the positives are just the Wild West atmosphere is really cool. It's a really cool atmosphere, and I really, really like the setting of that one. It is such a memorable place, and they have like the wanted posters where you get a feel for these enemies before you ever meet them. You get to meet like the wanted poster for the Lone Miner and Lai Tung and the Elwood brothers. Like you they did a good job of crafting the environment to kind of make these enemies larger than life. I remember as a kid reading that poster and be like, holy crap, Duke and John Elwood, like, reward $2,000. 2,000, that's a handsome sum, but no bullet has ever stopped the Elwood brothers. Like, they did a good job of setting that up as, like, holy crap, like, these guys are, like, serious, like, and just little things like that. I think it's really, really cool. Like, their environmental storytelling in that game was really, really awesome. And it made the environments memorable, and it made the enemies memorable. And when you actually faced off against them, it was like, whoa, I'm fighting the Elwood brothers. That's freaking crazy. So I think they did a good job of actually adding value to their enemies by doing things like that. Really, really, really cool. So in that sense, knocked it out of the park. Again, the combat is not great, but I actually feel like it's okay compared to Alone in the Dark 2. There's still a decent amount of enemies, but it's not to the point where there's so many enemies that it's overwhelming. There's a decent amount of enemies, but it doesn't feel overwhelming like it does in 2. So I think in that sense, they kind of found a good balance between combat and not having too much combat, but having some combat, because they want combat. There needs to be enemies. So I think they did a good job of that, and they added value. Less enemies, but they added more value to the enemies that all these. I mean, you could call them mini bosses, quote unquote. But they added value to the enemies that there were included. And I think in general, Alone in the Dark 3 just did a lot of more creative things, like TFing into the Cougar. The Cougar section is freaking cool. It's not particularly hard, and it's very short, but it's cool. I mean, it's a freaking cool thing. So, you have stuff like that. Even the ending area, I think, is really cool. You got to have the little shrinking section. Like, there's some creative and cool things done in the game. They tried some things. And for the most part, I think most of the things landed pretty darn well. Nothing overstayed its welcome. Like, I'll be honest, the Grace section in Alone in the Dark 2 probably overstays its welcome a bit. I think they did a perfectly good job in number 3 of not overstaying their welcome with any particular section. And you weren't in any area for too long, which I think the downside in, for example, Alone in the Dark 2 is you're in Hell's Kitchen pretty much the entire game for the most part. Alone in the Dark 3, you're constantly going to different places. So I think that is pretty cool. And it kept it feeling a little more fresh. If I had to say downsides about 3, I guess my downsides would be, again, we talked about it a little bit, but there's just some very obscure things, like the Gatling gun against the door, shooting the door to make them open. Again, they leaned into some very obscure things that you wouldn't necessarily figure out. Even Game Orca typed it in chat. It will stick in my brain forever. He said, "What?" The 4 different comments. What is this game? And you know what? That's very true. And I can't say, like, if I was playing Alone in the Dark 3 for the first time, I mean, I saw people play it for the first time, and they were stumped at certain parts that are just a little bit too obscure. So you know what? There's just some things that are very obscure. So for a new player, it's hard to recommend. For me, it's that's not a problem because I know how to play the game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of heart in it. I love the voice acting. I love the setting. I love a lot of things. Danger! I mean, Danger is probably the most iconic book in the entire trilogy. So, you know what? They did a lot of things right. And Alone in the Dark 3, a lot of people consider Alone in the Dark 3 to be the worst entry in the franchise of the trilogy. But for me, I have such a soft spot for it, and I just really love it. So those are my thoughts. So now the question is, what is Raichu's least favorite of the original 3? So I will tell you my placements. In first place, my favorite game of the original trilogy is Alone in the Dark 2. It's my most memorable game. It's one of my most memorable games of all time. And it's something that I will hold dear. It's probably, honestly, the most flawed. In reality, it's the most flawed in terms of gameplay. But the setting, everything, and the music, all of that just lives. It has such a memorable effect on me that for me, it'll always be my favorite. Even with its flaws. It's the most flawed. I think I can safely say it is probably the most flawed of the trilogy. But It's still my favorite. You know what? That's okay. You can like things that are flawed. That is more than okay. So yeah, Alone in the Dark 2 is my favorite of the trilogy. In second place, if it should be pretty obvious based on how much I just talked about. In second place is Alone in the Dark 3. Again, I just have a soft spot for it. It has a lot of heart. It's silly. It's weird, but I like silly and weird. And silly and weird for me are always going to be, it's going to be a win. You know what I mean? Silly and weird, that makes my heart go thump thump. I like silly and weird. So for me, Alone in the Dark 3 is in second place. And in third is Alone in the Dark 1. Does not mean it's a bad game, and most people probably consider it the best in the trilogy, which is a very, very, very valid take. For me, it's just the least memorable of the three. It's the one I spent the least time on. So for me, it would be my least favorite of the three. Obviously still a masterpiece, and like I said, for most people, it's probably their favorite. But for me, the least memorable. It's a good horror game, but it's just not as memorable. It's just a little more straightforward. It's a great horror game, but it's not as memorable for me as the other two. And for me, memorability, super important. Super, super important. So that is my ranking of the original trilogy of Alone in the Dark. I hope I answered your question well, Game Orca. There's not as much to talk about. Like, I'm sure you Kingdom Hearts dudes probably have like an hour to talk about on each game. I can't spend that much time. The games aren't that deep. Alone in the Dark's not that deep. Oh, I did tell you I would talk about the others. Okay, let's talk about the other Alone in the Dark games. So after the original trilogy was Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare. And the Alone in the Dark: New Nightmare is a good horror game, once again. It's a good Resident Evil clone. It's not a good Alone in the Dark game, but it is a good Resident Evil clone. It's a good game, and it's fun, and it feels very much like a Resident Evil game. It does not have the heart that Alone in the Dark 2 and 3 have, which I like. Well, I don't like that it doesn't have that heart. I like the heart. It doesn't have that heart, but they went back to the formula of, let's make a traditional, quote-unquote, good horror game. And I think they did a good job of that, but it's not memorable for me at all. There's nothing wrong with it, and it is actually a good game. By the way, if you ever get a chance to see gameplay for the Game Boy Color version of Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, check it out. It's also on Nintendo Switch Online, so if you have the thingy where you have the access to the games, I guess it's called Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack or something, or whatever it's called. If you have that, check it out. It's such a funny game, and I can't believe they got a first-person shooter Alone in the Dark game on the Game Boy Color. But it's a really funny game, so check it out if you get a chance. It's not a fun game to play, so you can just look it up on YouTube if you don't want to play it. But if you want to try it, feel free. I mean, go ahead. But yeah, really, really silly game. So, New Nightmare, good horror game, not for me. Alone in the Dark 2008, the game that Game Orca memes on me with all the time. It's not actually. Let me tell you. They went back to their roots of, hey, let's make something special and not cliche, right? Because Alone in the Dark, A New Nightmare, cliche, right? Cliche, kind of safe. Alone in the Dark 2008, they said, yo, we're doing something different. We're doing something special. So let's do something special. And they really tried to. Did it work? No, absolutely not. They were trying to be too special. But they did try to be special. So good effort. Good effort. I appreciate the heart. The game failed. It's a buggy mess. I really, really tried to play it on stream, and the old school Raichu watchers will remember when we played that on stream. I really gave it a true and honest effort. I played pretty dang far into that game until the game was literally unplayable because of the bugs and the glitches. But I really, 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 really gave it a solid effort. And I think honestly, at times, it felt like a pretty fun game. It had potential. But unfortunately, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know. The coders or whoever didn't program it very good, I guess. I don't know. But it had potential. It could have been a fun game. And there were times when I played that game where I thought, wow, this is a really fun and cool game. And that's really cool that they did this and that. And it had potential. Unfortunately, it fell flat, but I do appreciate the fact that they did try. Alone in the Dark Illumination is another game that I really, 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 really wanted to like, and I've given that game several chances on stream. And unfortunately, every time it slapped me in the face and said, "Raichu, why did you do that? Why would you do such a thing?" Because yeah, it's not a good game. It's very extremely buggy. They really borked this game. I'm very sad that they borked it so badly. They just did. It's unfortunate, but they borked the game. The game's borked. It's borked beyond repair. It cannot be repaired. The game is ridiculously buggy. And again, I'm not kidding when I say I really gave this a chance. And I've played it many times on stream. Many. And every time I'm reminded, oh yeah, this game just doesn't work. It's unplayable. It is buggy beyond playability. I like what they were trying to do again, something kind of different and kind of weird and kind of creative. They tried, but they fell flat once again. And I don't know why. Like, brothers, just get someone to code the game correctly. Just code the game correctly. I mean, I know easier said than done, right? I'm not a coder by any means. But just code the game correctly. That's all it needed. Make the game work correctly and it'll be good. I really want to play it more, but it's literally unplayable because the elevator doesn't freaking work on the second level. Like, it's so sad. But yeah, it's not sad. And anyway, then there's the latest Alone in the Dark, which I feel like, from what I heard, people didn't hate, but it feels like another quote-unquote safe entry, which it's annoying that the games either were adventurous but super flawed, or they were safe, like overly boringly safe. So like it feels like the newest one is just going to be boringly safe. I haven't really played it beyond I played the demo on stream last year. But that's what I'm hearing, is it's just pretty safe. And you know, I can't fault someone for making a game that's boringly safe, because at least you make money. At least the game works, you know, like that's a plus. But I don't know. It's just, I'll play it at some point, but I won't be enthusiastic about playing it. Like, when I played Alone in the Dark 2008 and Illumination, I was enthusiastic, hoping for the best. When I played New Nightmare, I wasn't enthusiastic. It was just like, all right, we'll play this. But like, I don't know. I feel like the new one is just going to be uninspired, but probably a safely okay-ish good horror experience. Nothing wrong with it, just not super inspired. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it is what it is, right? I can't fault anyone for making a game where it's a technically good game. The game functions. They programmed it correctly. Like, I can't fault someone for like, hey, how dare you make a game that works correctly and is just like what a horror game player in 2000 and what year are we in? 2024 would want. Like, how dare you? That's probably a smart business decision. But for me, it just doesn't do me a lot for me. So that's where we're at in the Alone in the Dark series. I mean, I hope you enjoyed my answers. That's how I feel about the Alone in the Dark series. So maybe someday we'll get another creative entry that actually functions well and is really, you know, great and stuff. I don't know if we will, but you know what? We'll find out. We'll find out together, guys, and we'll find out together in life. Someday, maybe we'll all experience it together. I hope that day comes. I really do. Thank you, Game Orca, for the question. Question number 3. Is this another Game Orca question? It is. Oh, Game Orca, you're so silly. You really want me to be angry, don't you? You just want to hear Raichu like, grr, I hate stuff. This is an interesting question. I don't actually know the answer to this. I might have to think about this a little bit. I didn't prepare for this question. I apologize. I was not prepared for this question. But the question is, what is your least favorite movie that you've ever watched? And they put a U in favorite because that's how the people outside of the United States do it. Why would you put a U in that? There's no U in the word favorite. How dare you? But no, I'm just joshing you. But yeah, the question is, what's your least favorite movie you've ever watched? So that's a good question, and I wasn't prepared for this question. So what is the least favorite movie I've ever watched? Oh God. Man. Is there a really, really boring horror movie that I've watched? Because, you know, horror is my favorite genre, so that's the genre that I'd probably pluck something from to be my least favorite movie, because other stuff just wouldn't be, I wouldn't have any expectations, so I wouldn't necessarily, you know, have an opinion. So I have to think about this. I'm not very good at not liking things. I'm really bad at it. Usually I try to find a good thing about any movie, or any game or anything that I do. I'm kind of a look at the bright side kind of guy. So, what is my least favorite movie? It's probably some really stupid horror movie that I found on like late at night that I just put on and I was like, oh, that looks interesting, or that look, let me try that crap. I don't know though. I don't know. You know, want to know the movie that jumped into my head, which I won't answer this because it's very much like a over dramatization of like, I hate this movie. I'm so edgy because I don't really hate the movie, but a movie I really didn't like that people really like is Interstellar. I was really bored during that movie. I'm sorry. People like that movie a lot. I remember just falling asleep during that movie because I just didn't like it, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I think a lot of people really love that movie. Let's see what it has on Rotten Tomatoes. Interstellar. What does it have on Rotten Tomatoes? 92% like that movie. Wow. So that's the movie that that I think of when I think of a movie that most people love that I really didn't love. It's not my least favorite movie of all time or anything. I just wasn't. Maybe I need to watch it again. I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again. So I that's the movie that jumps out at me as a movie I didn't like. I'm not very good at not liking things, Game Orca. I'm sorry. Games frustrate me more. Movies, I'm just kind of like, whatever. And I don't really watch movies if I'm not pretty confident I'm gonna like it. So it's like it's hard to kind of choose something. Really, it really is. I mean, I do watch bad horror movies, but they slip out of my memory because they're so bad. I think there was this movie called The Farm that was pretty boring. I think that was on Amazon Prime Video, maybe, or something. But there's definitely boring horror movies that I watched that just... Oh, you know what movie I didn't like was Infinity Pool. That's a pretty popular horror movie. Oh, you know what movie I can actually say? I think I have my answer. Yeah, I think my least favorite movie would be Night Swim. It's a horror movie. It came out, I think, in theaters last year. It's actually a movie I wanted to watch. And it was just really, 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 really freaking boring. If you're not familiar with the movie, it's like the premise is a haunted pool. Ooh, don't go in the haunted pool. It's spooky. So yeah, don't go in the haunted pool. And it seems like it should be an easy solution, right? Don't go in the pool. Just don't go in the freaking pool and you won't die. But anyway, there's other things that make them go in the pool and stuff. But yeah, not a good movie. So I think that's actually my answer. That was actually a movie that I actually had, I don't want to say expectations for, but some level of expectations for. And it was really bad. Very, very bad. So, you know what? That's a good answer. Thanks, Game Orca. You made me remember a movie that I didn't want to remember. But yeah, there's that other movie that made me think of that as well, Infinity Pool, which gets a lot of hype from horror fans. I was really bored during it. I don't know if that's just me. Maybe, and here's the thing about movies as well, right? Movies are an experience, and depending on your mood, sometimes I'm just in a bad mood, dude. Sometimes I've just had a shit day, and I watch a movie, and my brain is not there, and it's not ready to freaking take in the movie. Like, I can think of good movies that I watched this year that my headspace just wasn't in a right place. Even yesterday, like I watched Smile 2, which is a movie I was excited for, but my head, like my mental health wasn't all that good when I watched it. So like, I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling all that great. So I think I didn't get the full as good of an experience as I could have got. Now, mind you, I still liked Smile 2 a lot. So it's not on the same level, but like sometimes you just like something more or less because of the headspace you're in. And it's not fair to the movie. The movie didn't do anything wrong. Like, it's not the movie's fault I was feeling crappy, but that's just how it goes. You know what I mean? It's just how it goes. So yeah, it's interesting how that goes. I might have just been in a bad mood when I watched Infinity Pool. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I hope that answers my bad movie question. Most mainstream movies I find something good about. Like, I remember, like, I don't know, I'm a really it's funny because like I'm almost annoyingly positive. Like most movies I watch, I'm like, oh, that was pretty good. Like here's some good things about it. I remember, right? So I don't know if you guys, anyone here is a fan of the movie Suicide Squad. I'm a huge fan. I liked it, and I don't like superhero movies very much, but I really liked that. And I remember I watched that with Tushabi and his parents, and we all watched it, right, in theaters. And I remember they drugged me to it, and I was like, all right, whatever. I don't like superhero stuff, but I'll watch it. And I watched it, and I was like, and they're all very tough critics. Like most things I think they don't like. So I watched it, and I was watching it. I was enamored. I really liked this movie, and I was like, as I'm watching it, I was thinking, and I always tell this story because it's really funny. When I was watching it, I was thinking like, finally, there's a movie everyone here is gonna love. They're all gonna talk about how awesome it was, and finally, like, I'm not gonna be alone. All of us are gonna have enjoyed this movie. Like, finally, yes, hooray! So anyway, we get out of the movie, and I'm like, all right, guys, was that the best movie ever? I freaking loved that. That was awesome. And they're like, are you serious? That was freaking garbage. That was one of the worst movies we ever watched. And at that moment, I realized, I guess I'm just beyond saving. I'm just too positive. They hated it. Everyone in their family hates it, and they think it's one of the worst movies of all time. And I don't know. I guess I just missed something because I love that movie. Every time I watch it, I really enjoy it. So I don't know. Are they too harsh of critics? Am I too not harsh of a critic? I don't know. But that's a funny example. I'm probably too generous of a critic. I'm not very good at being mean to stuff. I don't know. It's a flaw of mine. So it's what it is. But thanks, Game Orca, for the questions. Let's get on to question 4. This one is from our legendary friend, Anthan, who also always asks some great questions. In fact, I mean, I say that, but like everyone asks great questions. So I can't really say like, oh, Anthan always asks good questions or GameWork always asks good questions. Everyone asks great questions all the time. So thank you all for asking such awesome questions all the time. I really appreciate it. But anyway, Anthan's question. I'm taking notes from Reddit. What's the most awkward thing you've said or done in an otherwise serious situation? So this is another one where I was trying to think, and I don't know. I mean, I hope that you guys get that vibe from me. It's another. I'm not very. I don't really have awkward situations. Like I pretty much own it. Like I can laugh at myself. I don't really have awkward situations. Like I'm confident. I am an excellent public speaker. I've always loved giving speeches. So I've given speeches in front of hundreds of people before many times. No problem. I love giving speeches. So there's no funny, awkward speech moment. In groups of friends, I thrive. A large group, I thrive. So like there's those like kind of cliche, like awkward, like, I made a fool of myself. Like I don't really think I have those. Like, sure, I do stupid things, but part of like awkwardness, I feel like, is you have to feel awkward for it to be awkward. And if I don't feel awkward, then it's not awkward. Like I can think back, like I was yapping a lot, for example, during the Overwatch night we had like 3 weeks ago now in the server, and I was yapping a lot. And to some people, they might have felt awkward, like being me in that position, but I didn't feel awkward. So it's hard for me to say, oh yeah, that was awkward, because it wasn't. Like I didn't feel awkward. I felt good. So I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't awkward for me. So how can I call that an awkward moment if I didn't feel awkward when it was going on? You know what I mean? Isn't that like a kind of requirement for an awkward situation? Is it has to feel awkward? So I'm sorry to not answer your question very good, Anthan, but I don't really have a good example of an awkward situation. I guess for me, awkward situations would be more after the fact, and it's not really awkward. It's more of like I'll reflect and I'll be like, yeah, I probably hogged the conversation a little bit too much there, and maybe like the Shire people didn't get to talk as much. Or not even a matter of being shy. Sometimes I just talk too much. Like I looked at episode 1 of my podcast and I was like, damn, I kind of talked too much, and I probably stole I didn't let King talk as much as he should have, like in the podcast episode we did together. But I can't say that's awkward, because at the time I wasn't feeling awkward. I was just yapping. But after the fact, I felt bad, but not awkward. So it's like it's interesting. In the moments, I don't really feel. And maybe that's a flaw of mine. I don't know. Like, should I feel awkward and like maybe I could stop doing a bad habit in the middle of it? Maybe I should feel awkward, but I wasn't built with that awkward gene. You know, certain people feel awkward. Even a lot of people feel awkward when they shouldn't. Like people will say like, this feels awkward. And I'm like, it's not awkward at all. You're doing great. Like I know shy people again will be like, oh, I'm feeling awkward in this situation. Like I'm talking like you're not awkward at all. You're doing great. So like, I think a lot of people get too much of that awkward gene. Like, you know, like they got crafted and like God was pouring their potion and they put like, oops, I put too much awkward juice in this person's, you know, in their build. Oopsies. But I feel like for me, they didn't put enough awkward juice because I don't feel awkward. I just feel after the fact, sometimes I'll reflect and I'll be like, damn. I should have been a little more like this instead of like that. But you know, it is what it is. So it's like, well, oh well, you know, that's so be it. That's how it roll. No problem. So unfortunately, Ethan, I don't have that awkward gene, so it's hard for me to say. But I will say there's a lot of situations where I am self-aware enough that I can reflect and think back, remember the situation of previous. And say, you know what, I could have done this better, but it's not. I don't necessarily like. I don't necessarily feel awkward. I never really like. I guess like an awkward situation. I guess would be if I like slipped or something. Like while I was like walking to the stage, which I guess I can't control. But I've never really had anything like that or something. So I don't know. I guess it's awkward when my stream breaks when I'm in the heart of a good stream and then the technical difficulties break it. That feels kind of awkward, I guess. But I don't know if it would be considered an otherwise serious situation. In a serious situation, I've never really had an awkward moment. Yeah, I've never really had an awkward moment like that. So I don't know. I'd love to hear if you guys have any awkward moments to share. I would be curious to hear about your actual awkward moments because I just don't. It's not something I've experienced too much. So I'd love to know about them. But it's just not something I've had I think it's, you know, it's kind of like weird to say it's a privilege to experience an awkward moment, but I almost feel like it is because then you can, you know, maybe know how to not do that next time or something. So like, you know, I guess it is kind of a privilege, to be able to experience something awkward. I have not experienced that very much in my life. So I apologize for not having a real great answer for your lovely, lovely question. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts and their own maybe awkward experiences that they've had that they might be comfortable sharing. So if you have an awkward experience you want to share, hey, share it with us. I'd love to hear. So yeah, that is, I talked a lot about that topic to basically say I don't have a real good example. So I apologize for not having a real good example, but I hope that my thoughts on awkwardness in general kind of, I don't know, I hope they were interesting anyway. So yeah, thanks, Nathan. Let's see where we're at. We're on number 5. I think number 5 might be Gaby's long question. No, this is Nathan's. Okay, so we can jump to this one. This is another shortish question. So this question says from Nathan again. I think our last 2 are long topics, so we're gonna save those. We're gonna jump into those after an intermission, but we still have time for this one. So Nathan says, "It's nice to see you stop by my channel. Yeah, I'm there a lot. I'm in a lot of channels, but sometimes I just don't have a lot to say or I don't feel like talking but I do try to support, I heavily try to support those people that support me by lurking in their streams or talking when I can. But yeah, I'm there a lot, probably a lot more than you see me, Nathan. I am there. So I do try to support your channel and all the lovely people that support me. It makes me feel appreciated. Well, I'm glad you feel appreciated. You are appreciated. You should feel appreciated because, you know, you are. It's the same thing I feel when anyone else comes by my streams. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing your appreciation with me. Though I'm glad you feel that way because it's making people feel appreciated is really like the strongest thing you can do for someone else. I really feel like it's such a broad thing. There's so many different ways you could make someone feel appreciated by like saying something. You tell them, hey, you know, like I really like this about you or whatever. Like you can say something, you can do something, whether it be like playing a game with them or like listening to them talk about something that they're really passionate about, or joining their stream, or you can give them something to make them feel appreciated, like a gift, or like you draw for them if you're an artist, etc. Like there's so many ways you can make someone feel appreciated, and I think that's really cool that it's something so important, and there's so many different ways to achieve it. So Anthony, I'm glad that you can feel appreciated from something as simple as just me clicking a funny button on Twitch and going to your stream. It's a very, very easy way to show some appreciation. So I'm glad you feel appreciated. On that note, do you have anything to say to your lurkers? Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, right? Having the care about someone, because here's the thing, right? People that watch your stream actively, or like are actively watching, chatting, that means that they are, presumably, right? They enjoy your show, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not meant to put those people down, because hey, if you like what I do and you like it so much that you're gonna chat and actively watch and all this stuff, like, you know what? More power to you. That's freaking awesome. I love you very much for that. But there's also something to say for people who maybe, like, I lurk in streams even when I can't listen. When I'm in like meetings, I'll join people's streams just to support them. And there's something a little different and special about that, right? That I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting any entertainment out of me, like saying, well, I'm going to be in a meeting, but who can I lurk in their stream to show a little love to? Like, there's something special about that I'm going out of my way, and I get nothing from it. I don't get entertainment from it because I'm lurking. Like, I'm minimized and have the stream muted because I'm in a meeting. Like, there's something special about you being special enough to that person that they say, you know what, I want to support vaRAIety, even though I can't watch right now. I'm in the middle of something, that maybe I'm cooking dinner, or maybe I need to go to bed, but I'm going to lurk in the stream anyway. There's something very special about that. And I do want to say thank you to those people that, even if they're not getting entertainment out of it, they care about me enough to want to support me. Again, not selling someone short that watches the stream because they get entertainment. I am freaking thrilled that you enjoy me and you get entertainment out of watching my stream. But also, yeah, let's appreciate the people who maybe who go out of their way a little bit more to support, even though they themselves are not, they're not getting anything out of it. They're just doing it fully just to support me. And you know what? That means a lot. I really appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you very much for caring about me enough to want to support me, even if you're not getting something out of it for yourself. You care about me and you want me to be supported. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Nathan. Yeah, it's just, it's about appreciating the people that go out of their way to show you love. They're going out of their way to show you love. You know what? Show them some love too. I appreciate you guys showing me love. I really do. It means a lot. It always means a lot. And I used to sometimes call out lurkers, and my later streaming days, now that I'm a more experienced streamer, I know it's not necessarily good etiquette to call out lurkers and say, yo, I see you there, Mr. Person. But I still do notice you, even if you're not, even if I'm not calling you out, I'm noticing. I notice, and trust me, I notice. I look at my Mix It Up. I see the people that are in the stream long before the stream starts, and I see the people with the top hours in my stream, the high amounts of view time. I see all those things. So don't think you're not noticed. I do. I'm an analytical guy. I look at analytics. I look at numbers, and I see, and I go, wow, that person never ever talks in my stream, but they have a lot of freaking hours in my stream. That's crazy. So I definitely notice. And yeah, your dedication to me is not going unnoticed. It might feel like it sometimes, but it's definitely not. I promise you that it's not. So yeah, you are appreciated. Thank you for always being there. It really does mean the world to me. And thank you so much for that, because yeah, it's that without, I mean, you can still have a stream without viewers, obviously. But the viewers are the lifeblood, and the lurkers make up the majority of your thing. We have a few chatters. If we look at our top chatters, there's like maybe 5 people who really talk a lot, 5 to maybe 10. But you guys see in the streams, we have a lot more than 5 or 10 viewers in our streams. So who makes up the majority? The people lurking. And so yeah, that's something good to think about, right? Is like a Chili Mex or a Kalmori, or the people that are like the mods that are very, very active in chat, and the people like that. They're kind of the stars, right? Like, they're the people that everyone knows, and like, Chili Mex, everyone knows Chili Mex. Like, He's an icon. But you don't think about like Mr. like I won't call any names out, but there are people that are in my top 10 most viewed hours that never ever say a word in the stream. So you know what? You have value. You have value, and that's the important thing to remember, right? Is like they're not hunting for attention. They probably don't want attention. But they're making a very good difference in the stream, and they're the reason why our stream can be successful because they're there and making up the majority of the audience. So thank you, lurkers. Really, thank you very much. It means a lot, and thanks for caring about me. It means a lot. That I don't know what else to say other than thank you so much. Your support is appreciated, and I hope that you feel appreciated because you are appreciated, and you're never, it's unlikely that I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, Mr. Random Lurker, like, let me call you out in chat, like, let me say how awesome you are. But in my head, I'm thinking it. Okay, I'm definitely thinking it in my head, even if you're not necessarily gonna get called out. And maybe you prefer it that way. Maybe you prefer not getting called out. I don't know. Maybe some people are built like that. I'm a little attention whore. I like getting called out. I want attention. Give me attention. But yeah, no, really, realistically speaking, you are so appreciated. So thank you for that. You're never not noticed. So really, thank you a lot. So yeah, that is our first segment of the podcast. We've got a couple long questions coming up, as well as a few other topics we could delve into if we have time on our little forums. So we'll see how much time we have after we talk about the longer questions. But yeah, for now, that's part one. There's, again, I always say this. Oh, here's part one, but you're gonna see it all in one part. So here's a quick cut, and you'll see me back in like 1 second. Ready, go. All right, my friends, part two, or for you, part continued of the one. All right, so I'm excited because I get such a excitement in my heart for these serious questions that some people like to ask, and this is there's some good questions. Actually, this is a different one. I think the next one I'm even more excited for. No offense, this one's from Chili Mex. It's an excellent question as well, but I think I'm extra excited for the last question after this. But this is also a great question that I did think about as well. So yeah, let's roll with it. Chili Mex says, and I you know what? This is a hard question, and I'm not sure I have a concrete, definitive answer, but I'm gonna do my very darn best, Chili Mex, and I'm gonna hopefully make you proud of my answer. Chili Mex's question is, reflecting on your past self in two different ways. What's something you believe was better about you when you were younger, and something you feel like you improved on a lot by growing up? This can be on any matter and in any capacity, both silly things and serious stuff. All right. So, younger is it's a wide range. But I'll say one thing that I'm definitely better at in general is just it's a simple answer, but I would say just in general confidence and talking to all kinds of people. So what I mean by that is, I've told this story before, but I remember the day when I got confident. It was such a weird switch flip, right? So like you guys know, and I've talked about this before, but again, I'll share the story because there's people who may not have heard the story. So when I was a young lad, until I was in 6th grade, I had a bowl cut. And you guys know what a bowl cut is, right? I'm pretty sure it's a common term, but if you're not sure what it is, Google bowl cut haircut. And it's like that kind of nerdy looking, like, I don't know how you'd say it. Like, I don't know, just a dorky look. It was not a good look on me, right? But that's what my parents had for me. And that's what they made me do. And I was a little kid, so I didn't have any say in it. I was just a little kid, and they said, that's the haircut you're getting. So that's the haircut I got. So anyway, so I had my bowl cut, and I was whatever. And then in 6th grade, my parents finally, they're like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, oh, I want to like cut my hair short and do like spiked hair, like short spiked hair, right? Which many people had spiked hair in that day and age. But anyway, so I just wanted to cut my hair short and spike it, and so I got my hair cut, and I remember after I got my hair cut and I looked in the mirror and I was like, holy shit. And I was a little kid. I didn't think this literally, but essentially the thought was, holy shit, I'm sexy. And from that moment on, I had confidence, and it was such a weird switch flip, right? I remember like at the time, like I had a crush, and like I mentioned, like I've really only been in love with 4 people in my life, most likely. I don't know, love is complicated, right? But probably 4 people in my life. And this girl at the time, when I was younger, I don't know, sexuality's hard, right? But two out of my 4 were girls that I had romantic feelings for. But anyway, very, very important person in my life. And I remember thinking like, damn, I got my hair cut. Like, she's going to like me now because like I'm fucking sexy now. So anyway, yeah, like that was when I had confidence. And from that moment on, confidence never stopped. But confidence does, for most people, I feel like, increase as you get more experience in life. So I'm a lot more confident than I was, for example, in college. In college, I was still confident, but nowhere near the level of confidence I am now, and nowhere near the ability I have to just talk to people and connect with people and do that. So I think, and really, like, the ability to connect with people comes down again to confidence, because and I guess extrovertness as well, having the confidence and the extrovertism to talk to people and connect with people. Like that's something that I've definitely gotten way, way, way better at. And it's just kind of cliche, but in general, like just being better as far as like all aspects of life. Like I think I'm more attractive. I'm in better shape, like physically. I work out more. I eat better. Like I do so many things better that I didn't do as a young lad. And I think just in general, like people worry about like, I'm getting older, but like with each passing year, as long as you use it as an opportunity to get better, you're getting better. And so use it as an opportunity to get better. And yeah, you're older, but I promise I'm in better shape now than I was in college. I am in better shape. I'm more confident. I have more money. So like, damn, I'm definitely more attractive, like as a partner or anything, like than I was when I was younger. So that's definitely a positive thing. I can say like, I am better in all aspects, really. There's almost no area where I can say I'm worse than I was when I was in college, other than I guess being younger, but I didn't make as much of a use of that as I probably should have. I could have been sexier when I was 20, but when you're 20, you don't really give a damn. You're just like, YOLO. I played a lot of League of Legends. So, it's like, sometimes you don't make the use of your time. But no, I think in general, I'm better in most ways than I was. I guess the struggle, and if I'm, some people might think it's a bad thing. Some people might think it's a good thing. I guess the thing I'm worse about, is just kind of not letting myself relax as much. Like I said, I could play League of Legends in those days. I could play League of Legends or whatever for 12 hours a day and feel like I'm the coolest guy ever. But in this day and age, if I play a video game for like a couple hours, I'm like, yikers! Like, unless I'm making content, like, I'm like, that time could have probably been spent a little better, So I think the flaw of me in my current capacity is that I don't let myself relax. I don't think I give myself as much time off as I should from life. Even like, I was just thinking about this. I was like, damn, my grandma passed last year in 2023, and she's a very important part of my life. And I didn't take a single day off work. I didn't take a single day off streaming. I didn't take a single day off of anything. And I could have, but I'm not great at giving myself time off. So that is definitely a flaw of mine, is that I don't know if I'm a workaholic, but I'm a very productive person. And I guess, part of that as well is like when you get older, there's a lot more to do. When I was in college, there was, for example, very little to do. But in this day and age, I've got like a full-time job. I have side hustles. I have a stream. I have YouTube content. I have friends to keep up with. I have family to keep up with. I have a dog to take care of. I have a huge house to maintain. Did I mention everything? There's probably more that I'm missing as well, but like there's a lot to manage, and so you have to be kind of on point. And I am on point. I'm very good at being on point in terms of managing all my responsibilities and obligations in life. And they're called obligations, but it's not like a bad thing. Like, I can't say my friend obligations, like, oh, it's so horrible, I had to talk to my friend today. But like, you do have to make an effort to keep up with people, and you do have to make an effort to continue to bond with people and meet new people and grow in that regard and maintain relationships and grow new relationships and further improve your relationships. Like, you do have to make time for those things, and it's called a quote unquote obligation. But I mean, I can't say it's like I don't enjoy, like, oh man, I had to be on the Yasha stream on Thursday because it's like important to have you got your friend obligations, you got to form your bond. I had to hang out with Bakenu and Aaron and Yasha on Thursday. That was an obligation. Oh golly, I hate obligations. No, I mean, it was an obligation in the sense that, like, it is important. I could have done something more productive perhaps during that time, but it's important to, spend time with your friends and people you care about in life, for example. It is an important part of your life. You can't do it on your own. So, basically, there's a lot of things in life that you have to manage. And I'm very on point with that, but I'm not always the best at just giving myself some time to decompress. But I try. I do try. It's not from a lack of effort, but I know many people can relate to this. Sometimes you just feel guilty if you're letting yourself relax when you have things you need to do. And there's always, I promise you, there has never been a time in my life where I can truly say I didn't have something to do. Right now, if I wasn't doing the podcast, I probably should do some cleaning around the house. Like, there is definitely cleaning to be done. Is it okay? Is it like passable if I don't do it? Sure, but I should definitely do it. And am I far ahead enough in my YouTube videos that, like, if for some reason I got sick or something this week and I couldn't film, like, would I have enough videos to upload for a week while I was ill? No, I need to record some videos for sure. So there's definitely always things, Would my dog like to go for a walk right now? Probably, yeah. Could I use some, I should probably lift some weights today, probably should get some exercise in. Prep for the week. Should I go to the store and buy some groceries for the week? Probably, yeah. Like, there's always so many things to do. So it's never a case of like, oh, right, you're just finding things to do. No, there's always things to do. But it is important to give yourself breaks. So I'm working on that, and that's definitely something I can improve on. And I'm trying to, and I think I've been pretty good this year in general. Maybe not the whole year, but at least the past few months, I've definitely been better at that. Can I still improve? Absolutely. But so that's something that I was definitely better at versus, in the early day, I could go play League with friends for 12 hours and have a great time. I do try to give myself Saturdays off of virtually any obligations. I don't really do any obligations on Saturday. I usually leave that open for friends, and sometimes I might do stuff with friends, sometimes maybe not. But I do keep that day open. So usually if I was going to do something, it'd be on a Saturday. And sometimes Friday nights. Friday nights I try to keep pretty open as well. Sundays I'm usually a little more productive, but it just depends. But I try to give myself Saturday, no obligations. If there's any obligations, it's a fun obligation. Like, I'm going to go to the movies, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to have a game night in my server, or something like that. So we try to keep the obligations, if there are any, on Saturdays for fun. Because, yeah, it's important to give yourself breaks. I was way better at that. But, I mean, in all other areas, I'm locked in. Compared to, like, when I was in college, I am locked the fuck in. I am better looking. I am more in better shape. I'm more confident. I'm a better friend. I'm potentially a better partner. I'm like, I make more money. Every other area, like, I am locked, as the kids say, locked TF in. That's not transformation. That's like the fuck in. I am super locked in. So I am, other than the fact that I don't necessarily give myself enough breaks, I'm super locked in, and I manage my time really, really well. So yeah, I'm locked in all regards. But it's important, and it really is an important aspect to give yourself breaks. and just let yourself kind of, which I mean, I guess I do take a fair amount of breaks. Like I get a lot of exercise. So like times I'm walking my dog or times I'm doing something like that. It's kind of like a decompression break. Like I'm not doing anything super intensive. I'm just kind of walking and thinking. So yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I could probably still cut myself a little more slack in terms of giving myself time to rest and relax. But you know what? It's all a work in progress. So that's the area that I could definitely improve upon. Other than that, I am very proud of myself now versus past me. But past me did kind of let myself let loose a little bit more and enjoy myself. But I don't know if past me was productive enough, although he was pretty productive as well. He was fairly productive as well. I was still doing YouTube and like content creation and poker and all this stuff. So I have to say, young me did a pretty darn good job of mixing those worlds. Older me, I still think I'm a pretty dang good. I don't know. I mean, it's too cocky to say. I think I'm a pretty dang good friend, and I think I'm pretty dang good at putting out content regularly, and I'm pretty dang good at that stuff. But I'm also productive. So I don't know. I mean, who knows? I think I'm pretty good in this day and age, but need to give myself breaks sometimes. It's important. There's no shame in taking a break. You know, there's no shame in giving yourself time to yourself. You know, it's important. I have been better about it, but I think I could be even better. So you know what? We're gonna keep working at it. Thanks for the question, Chili Mex. I hope that answered your question. I hope that answered your question well. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts when you watch this. Give me I want a nice summary of your thoughts in the Discord, please. I beg you. Thank you. All right, question number 7. This is one I've been excited for from Gabe. I'm very excited for this one. I've been waiting to answer this. So, Gaby Prower, let's do it. Oh, and he put Gaby Prower as the name. So I'm glad. Did I create the name? Was I the first to start calling you Gaby? I don't know. Was I? I don't know. That's an interesting thought I just had. Anyway, all right. Firstly, thank you for answering my previous answer, Rai. No problem. I really enjoyed your answer for my question and Chili's question and the entire topic as well. Human relationships and feelings are indeed quite interesting and can be very complex and abstract sometimes. With that in mind, I got a question that's a bit similar to it. Yeah, no problem. Always happy to answer anything about... you know, if I had really been this passionate about it when I was in college, I wish I would have been. Maybe I would have got into psychology or something because it's so interesting to me. But I'm pretty darn good at my career, and I'm not really looking for a career change, so I'll just talk about psychology on the side, I guess, and have fun. But anyway, yeah, no problem, Gaby. Always a pleasure to answer your questions. So Gaby's question, it's a long one, but this is like the first part. It says, you mentioned how being vulnerable is important and a good way to connect. Absolutely. And I personally agree with that. Showing who you are to people you care about is a good way to get closer to them. It sure is. Absolutely. So here comes my question to this theme. How to allow ourselves to be more open to people we care about. Okay. So Gaby says how to be more open to people we care about. And the next part of that is, it's a very similar question, but I don't just mean the mentality behind it, but also, and especially, the communication part. For example, in some situations, you do want to, what does that say? You do want to, hold on, I'm just trying to understand this. Hold on, let me try to understand this. In some situations, you do want to show to them your emotions and you wish to connect deeper with someone you care about, but you don't see an opportunity of a good way to let them know you're not feeling well in a natural way if they haven't asked. So surely some people would feel uncomfortable or would struggle to bring that up in a way that makes the conversation flow naturally. Especially for people, which is very common, that feels like they would bother their friends if they talked about their struggles. You know what I mean? So how to get through that barrier? All right, that's a great question. And I actually have a really, really awesome example to that. So I'm going to give you this example, and I'm going to block out names because I'm not sure if I should share the names here. So I'll say this was a few weeks back, probably about a month or so, maybe a little over a month ago. I got a message from a good friend of mine who I'd really never been particularly vulnerable with, but they're someone important to me. But we've never really been vulnerable with each other. And he said, "Hey, Raichu. And this is the more majestic way. His way was a little more blunt, but I'm going to say the majestic way of saying it. Hey, Raichu, I noticed you and other person have been spending a lot of time together. So, like, you guys seem really close. So, what's the deal with that? Like, are you guys, like, a friend? What's going on? Like, a little digging, a little, an innocent, innocuous question. They just wanted to know, like, what's going on with you and them? Like, tell me what's going on. So I said, I saw that question and I took it as an opportunity. And I said, we're good friends. And let me tell you why. Because this person helped me. I've been struggling a lot over the past months with this, blah, blah, blah. And this person really helped me. They really did a lot for me in that sense. And they really helped me get my mind right. And they've really, really helped me. And I was really, really struggling, and I was barely getting by for so long, and they really helped me to climb out of the dark hole I was in. So that's kind of why we're close and why I feel so bonded to them. So for me, right, that was me kind of naturally saying that the question they asked wasn't really like, right, are you depressed? Like, it was more of a question like, hey, you and them, like, like that. But I took that as an opportunity to say, to open up and say, well, here's really what's going on. They helped me when I was very, very down and out. And they helped me to not be down and out. So that's how we bonded, So the easy answer would have, they were hitting me with I could have gave a simple answer like, oh, they're really cool, they're really awesome, like that's why we're bonded. But like I went the next level of depth and kind of talked about my vulnerability. And once I talked about my vulnerability there, let me tell you the magical thing that happened. I talked about my vulnerability, and the person that was talking to me was like, I think it hit a chord with them because they said, wow, like I don't remember how the conversation went exactly, but like it was like, oh, that's cool. And like I've also been going through like those kind of feelings, and like here's my experience like having those feelings and like how I kind of relate to that feeling that you told me that you were feeling before this person helped you. And so that gave me an opportunity to kind of comfort them and say like, yeah, just so you know, like I understand exactly how you're feeling, and you do have value. And here's so like it gave me an opportunity to they had an. I'm sure that person didn't think they had an opportunity to be vulnerable with me. So I opened the door, and it's kind of like cracking the door. We talked about cracking the door before. I cracked the door to them to say, hey, here's me, a natural opportunity to say, hey, here's me. I'm vulnerable. And they could have said like, oh, that's cool. Like their response, if they didn't want to be vulnerable with me, their response could have been, oh, like that's cool that person helped you. Like that's really awesome. And they could have left it at that. Or they had the other path where they were vulnerable with me and they told me about their own vulnerabilities and their own struggles. And so it's kind of not forcing them. It's doing it in a way that doesn't force them to have any particular response. And the way I did it there, they didn't have to comfort me, because I was able to say like, here's what happened. So I think it's just about doing it tactfully. Like there's not and it will depend on the conversation. And sometimes there might not be a good entry, and that's okay. It's probably not a good idea to force that into somewhere that you don't know how the other person is feeling, if they're mentally able to shoulder that burden of you feeling bad at the time. Unless there will be cases of people in your life where you probably will have that relationship with, but if you're not sure if you have that relationship, you probably don't have that relationship. So I say, err on the side of caution. And if you find an opportunity to be vulnerable with someone and kind of give them the opportunity. So now like me and this person that I was just talking about, we have an opportunity. We've been vulnerable with each other. I know things he's feeling that I never knew about. He knows things that I'm feeling that he never knew about. So we have this whole connection now that we have that kind of, we have that the door's been open. We can talk about vulnerable things. I at least I hope so in the future if we need to. But yeah, basically there's not a one size fits all answer. We're like, oh, just do this thing. But really the advice is be tactful in being vulnerable. you know, you can be vulnerable, but in this sense of like, at least the way you're phrasing it, Gaby, is like, you know, being vulnerable and like I'm feeling. There's different kinds of vulnerability, right? And the vulnerability of like I'm feeling bad. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? I'm definitely not. I'm one to rarely say when I'm feeling bad, like openly, unless there's something I'm looking to accomplish. So what is trying to be accomplished by saying, for example, like you said, you know, what was your example? Let me look. What's a good way to let them know that you're not feeling well? Like, what are you trying to accomplish from telling them you're not feeling well? I guess that would be the question. For me, there's really never, I don't really have like an answer to that, like something I'm trying to accomplish. And if you're going to tell them that you're feeling well, like, and not feeling well, like, what do you want them to say, like, to try to comfort you, or like what, like, the thing is, right? Like, for me anyway, like my friendships, like they should already naturally, or like they do naturally, like flow in a way where like my friends should like, and we bring each other up. Like, I don't have to be feeling bad to have a friend say something nice about me, or like you know, be nice to me, and like perform an action that would quote unquote make me feel better. You know what I mean? I don't have to tell them I'm feeling bad to have them do something to make me feel better. So if you're not going to accomplish, like, I don't necessarily see the value in saying like, hey, I'm not feeling bad. Like, if you're not feeling bad and you don't think the way to feel better is by talking to friends, go talk to friends, and just, you know, talk to them. And maybe, again, like your more insightful friends or your closer friends might be able to tell if something's off, or you might be able to straight up tell them. But I think you need to wait for the right time to grow to that level of connection with someone. And it can be annoying. Like, damn, I want to just be close to them right now. I want to like form this connection with them right now, be vulnerable with them right now. But you have to be tactful. So you can't, yeah, I know, I understand the appeal of like, I want it now, but you can't necessarily have it now. You do need to wait for a tactful opening. And for example, I had that example I gave, where I was able to connect with someone that I didn't previously have that vulnerability with, by finding the right time to kind of share a story and say, you know what, here's why I really like this. And I've used that same story with multiple people to say, hey, this person has really helped me. Like I, you know, I thought I couldn't be helped until this person helped me. So it's like you can use the same story, but again, it's kind of, it's difficult to say, like, I don't know, just as an example, let's say like, oh, the vaRAIety stream is a good way that you get help. Like, you're talking about the vaRAIety stream with someone and you're like, yeah, like, man, the last few months I've been really depressed. Like, but like vaRAIety stream, like, really helped me. Like, that's the one thing that I could go to and like feel better about. So like you can use, like, find a good way in that. Think about it. Like a topic, like, for example, like, let's say you like playing the guitar. Like, this is a question from Gabe. So you're talking to someone about your music and you're just like, yeah, like I've been playing a lot of songs like this year, because in this year in particular, it's been a really, really tough year on me. And it's like the one thing that's really like helped me like to feel alive again, or something like that. Like, there's not a one size fits all answer, but you can use a natural conversation. Like, again, the example I gave, the person that messaged me and said, yo, you and this guy, they weren't looking for a vulnerable conversation, but they gave me an opportunity to be vulnerable and say, you know what? I could just say, yeah, this person's cool. Or I could say, you know what? This person really, really helped me when I was struggling. And that's why I care about them so much, is because they really, really helped me. And it's good. I mean, it's a good opportunity to be vulnerable. And that's, you know, whatever it may be. Again, like whatever the topic may be, whether it be a video game. I played a lot of Persona. Like, this isn't me. I'm not saying like I played a lot of Persona this year. I didn't play Persona at all. But like, what if you say like, I played a lot of Persona this year. I was really, really struggling. So I played Persona a lot because it made me feel less depressed. For example, like Like that's a good example of like a you know, a thing. Like it's I played a lot of Persona because I was depressed, and that was my kind of comfort game. And so you're talking about Persona with someone, and you say, you know what? Like I played a lot of Persona this year because I was really depressed, and that's you know that's an excellent way to bond, whatever the topic may be. And it doesn't have to be any particular doesn't have to be any particular, again, it doesn't have to be like a particular, like any one thing. It can be whatever. You're talking about a topic, you can wedge that in, and wedging it in that way, it's not done in a way that's like they don't have to respond. Like they can just share their experience with Persona. Like, oh, it's really cool. Like, I'm going to go back to the Persona example, because video games are a way that a lot of people kind of find comfort, right, in bad times. So, like, they won't necessarily have the same example. Like, let's say, for example, I don't know. Like, what if we both played the same game? I just played Persona just because I like the game. You used it for comfort. So, like, let's say, here's an example. Gabe and I are having a conversation, and we're talking about Persona because we both like Persona. Again, I'm not a Persona player. I've barely touched Persona, so don't talk to me about Persona. It's not an invitation to talk to me about Persona. I don't know anything about Persona. But, like, let's say Gabe says, oh, right, you, like, that's really cool. You like Persona. And it's like, yeah, I really love Persona. Like, Gabe, like, it's been such a fun game for me. And then Gabe's like, oh, that's really awesome. Like, for me, like, I've been really, really struggling this year. And, like, it's really given me the opportunity to kind of have an outlet to, like, really feel like I had something to do to, like, kind of drown my sorrows in, or whatever it may be, right? So now it comes back to me. Gabe just said that, right? So I have two routes I can take. I have two options. Number one, I can say something like, oh, that's really cool. Like, I didn't get that for Persona, like, but I think that's really cool that, like, the game allowed you to have an outlet like that. Or here's the most likely route I would take. Wow, that's really cool, Gabe. Like, Persona did that for you. So, like, for me, it didn't really do that for me, but, you know, like, when I was feeling really down, like, I played a lot of Final Fantasy X, and, like, so for me, like, that was kind of my escapism game, and, like, I can definitely appreciate how, like, a game, like, because I was so depressed, and, like, I just played Final Fantasy X, and I could connect with Titus, and, like, that was my outlet. So, like, I think it's really, really cool to use games as, like, an outlet, as, like, something to be depressed, and then Gabe could say, oh yeah, like I played a little Final, like the path, like I wasn't boxed in. You see how I wasn't boxed in there to be forced to be vulnerable? I didn't have to be vulnerable, but I had the option to be vulnerable, and it's important to give people the option. If you box them in, if you say I'm feeling bad, then they have no option but to either end the conversation or be vulnerable with you and, like, talk to you about that vulnerableness, which they might not be comfortable doing. Having the option means if I choose to be vulnerable, it is 100% on me. If I have the emotional capacity to be vulnerable right now, I can be vulnerable. Or if I just want to say, wow, that's really cool, Gabe. Like, I didn't have that experience, but it's good that you had that experience with the game. I can take that route too if I'm not feeling up to being vulnerable at the time. So you see how important it is to give people the option. You don't want to force anyone to be vulnerable if they're not ready. The person that I was giving the story of to me when I told them how I struggled when this other person helped me, they didn't have to be vulnerable at lack. They could have just said, cool, that's awesome that person helped you. Good to know. Like, that's why you guys have such a strong connection. Cool. But they didn't do that. They said, well, here's, you know, I also relate to those feelings. Like, here's me being vulnerable. So, like, again, it's about giving people the option. Don't force anyone to be vulnerable with you. Some people don't want to be vulnerable with you. And just because someone's a vulnerable person doesn't mean you'll have the... There are people in my life I'm not vulnerable with, or not very vulnerable with, and that's okay. There are people I'm extremely vulnerable with, and that's okay too. And just because you want to... It's just like friendship in general. Because you want to have a vulnerable, or, like, be vulnerable with someone doesn't mean they want to be vulnerable back with you. For me, there's oftentimes people I would love for them to be a little more open and vulnerable with me, and they just won't be. And you know what? And it can be hard, and you might want them to be, but again, you can't make them be vulnerable with you. No one wants to be forced, like, you have to be vulnerable with me. No, that's not going to work. That's not natural, and that's not how any conversation should flow. So don't force them to be vulnerable, but give them the option to be vulnerable, because again, a lot of people especially in our fandom, are shy. They're introverted. They're nervous. They worry about making someone uncomfortable. So they're not going to be vulnerable on their own. This person that was vulnerable with me and I was vulnerable with, they could have been vulnerable with me anytime. I would have been thrilled about that. But I'm sure they were thinking the whole anytime like, oh God, I can't be vulnerable with Raichu. It's going to be so annoying, and like he'll think I'm annoying and all this stuff. But like, they wouldn't have been. But I understand the fear. We're all just doing our best out there. We're all scared. We're all terrified of upsetting someone or making someone we care about angry at us. Like I'm sure that's many people's biggest fears. Like, imagine if someone you really, really like and then you make them uncomfortable or you make them mad at you. Like, that's got to be the worst feeling of all time. You know, like no one wants that. So we're all just doing our best out there, and it's, you know, it's tough. It's really tough. So, you know, what can you do? What can you do? All you can do is kind of just go about your life and hope for the best. So you can't force someone to be vulnerable, but that's a good option to try. Give them an opportunity to be vulnerable if they so desire. If they don't want to be, don't push it. Don't push it, because you can't make someone be vulnerable with you, even if you would like to. All right. And part 2 of Gabe's question says, and in contrast with that, I wanted to make my second question, asking about the other way around. How would you approach a friend that is struggling but is bad at communicating and opening himself? How would you help them if possible? Yeah, so Gabe talked to me about this as well, and it's kind of like the idea of like, how can you save someone who doesn't want to be saved? And I think that's a very difficult question and answer. And the answer to it is sometimes, for whatever reason, you might think, I think I'm fantastic at talking to about serious topics and about being vulnerable. Like if someone was going through something, this is just my overconfidence at times. I think I am great and one of the best, and I think pretty much anyone could benefit from talking to me. But that doesn't mean people want to be vulnerable with me, or that they're going to have me be their first choice, or even their second or their third or their fourth, or any choice on their list of people that they want to be vulnerable with. Just because I think I'm good at it doesn't mean that they want to be vulnerable with me. So all you can do as a friend is say, you know what? You're going through stuff. I understand that. If you need anything, I am so here, and I'm absolutely here for you. And like, I am so sorry you're going through that. And if you need anything, I'm always here, and I'm always thinking of you. That's all you can do at the end of the day. And it's not a very satisfying answer. If they're not good at and let me tell you something. Sometimes you might think, oh, they're not very good at opening or, you know, communicating themselves. Not necessarily. They might be great at it, but they might just not have that connection with you. I'm sure there's been people in my life that really want me to open up with them. But if I don't want to open up with them, then I'm sorry. Like, we all have people that we're more and less comfortable opening up with. And sometimes you might not just be comfortable with someone. Even if they're a good friend of yours, you might not be comfortable opening up to them. And that's okay. And I understand that it can be frustrating because, like I said, I've been in that boat where I'm like, damn it, dude, just open up to me. Like, I'm your good friend. Like, I'm great at having these serious talks. Like, I want you to be vulnerable with me. Like, be vulnerable with me. Like, I'm great at this. Like, come on. But you can't force them at the end of the day. Like, and it's hard. But all you can do at the end of the day is say, I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here. And if they choose to take you up on it, awesome. And if they don't choose to take you up on it, well, it's frustrating and it's upsetting sometimes because you just want to have that connection, but you can't force it. So if they don't want to have that connection with you, I'm sorry. You're not going to have that vulnerable connection. You're not going to have that next level of of being vulnerable with them, and that's okay. Because just like we don't really, like, just on the same sense of like, sometimes you might really want to be friends with someone, but they just might not feel the same way back. They just might not feel that same connection you feel with them. It's the same thing about being vulnerable. There's people, like, I can tell you the person I was vulnerable with the most this year, they know who they are. I'm not sure if they listen to this podcast, but they know who they are. The number one person I was the most vulnerable with this year is not my best friend in the world. They're an important person in my life, but like, there's closer people in my life that I was not vulnerable with like I was with this person. Sometimes you just feel like you can be vulnerable, and there's a variety of reasons. The reason I was vulnerable with this person is because they're a little disconnected from certain people. So it's like sometimes you just feel comfortable going to someone on an island with someone like I can understand that like someone might not be comfortable being vulnerable with me because I have a lot of connections to a lot of people. And so maybe they might have like, they might fear that like I'm connected to so many people, like whatever the fear might be. Like I chose this person to be vulnerable with in particular because they are disconnected from a lot of people. And I wanted someone that was kind of disconnected and a little more disconnected. And usually like being disconnected is not a positive trait, but for me being vulnerable, that was the number one trait I was looking for, being disconnected. So yeah, I was looking for that trait in person. So again, it's not an insult if someone doesn't want to be vulnerable with you. It just means they weren't feeling the connection to be vulnerable with you. And it doesn't mean that they'll never feel that connection, because maybe at some point they will, but sometimes you're not feeling that like next level connection on a friendship. But it doesn't mean it won't ever happen, but you can't force it. Again, there's no forcing it. So if they don't want to be vulnerable with you, all you can do, and at that point you have done your diligence as a friend, when you say, yo, if you need anything, I am here for you. And I'm here for you. Do you need something? If so, hit me up. And if not, no problem. You know what I mean? It's like, you need something, I'm here. You don't need something, no problem. But you can't force them to connect with you on the level that you want. You don't get to decide the level that they connect. And again, you might think, oh, they're not good at opening up. Just because they're not opening up with you, there's definitely people who probably in my life have thought, dang, right, she's very unopen. Oh, I am extremely open. Just because I haven't been open with you does not mean I'm not open. So that's kind of the important thing to remember, is like, it doesn't mean they're bad at opening up just because they're not open with you. It just means they don't want to be open with you. And you know what? That's okay. Don't hate them for not wanting to be on that level of openness with you, because that's their choice. That's their choice. And it's frustrating. And we all want to help others, and we all want to form tighter bonds with our people we care about. But at the end of the day, you can't force that. You can't. I wish you could. That'd be nice, right? That'd be nice if everyone just wanted to be on the same level of friendship that you wanted. Whatever level of friendship you wanted, if you could just have that level with them, that'd be awesome, right? But it's not how the world works, unfortunately. So my answer, Gaby, is tell them you're there for them if they choose to open up, and don't tell them every day, but do remind them from time to time. You know, there's nothing wrong with telling them more than once, but don't tell them every day. That's just kind of annoying. But like, do remind them on occasion. But at the end of the day, you can't make them connect if they don't want to connect, and that's just kind of how it goes, unfortunately. So yeah, thank you very much for the question, Gaby. I really, really appreciate it. All righty. That is all for the questions. Let me pull up my little notepad here, and let's talk about some topics. I've got some that are there's some heavier ones and some lighter ones. So let me talk about this. We talked about awkwardness, and this is an interesting tangent because I had a note on my little notepad here that says awkwardness brings more awkwardness. And I think in general, like, and I understand that it's easier said than done, right? But like, being awkward with people just makes them feel awkward too. Like if you're awkward around people, I know for me, like, I don't feel awkward around anyone naturally, but sometimes people act awkward around me, and it's like, come on, you don't have to be awkward around me, but sometimes people do. And it's very like unsettling, and it makes me feel awkward because they're being awkward around me. So I think just, it's something we can all work on, but yeah, awkwardness brings more awkwardness. So just try to not feel awkward. I think if you try to not feel awkward, you know, because awkwardness is kind of just a state of mind, right? Like everyone thinks they're being awkward, but most people aren't awkward. Most of the people that tell me they're being awkward are not awkward at all. So we're all just hard on ourselves. At the end of the day, try not to just assume that you're being awkward. Try to assume the best. And again, easier said than done, but don't assume the worst in yourself. Try to see the goodness as well. So thank you very much for myself for putting that on the list. I don't know who I was thinking there, but all right. So let's do something a little more lighthearted, and then I think we'll end with a couple heavier things. So I was thinking about this, and actually, we got a couple lighthearted ones I think we can burn through. It says, fun side piece, people you don't know talking about you, like through a friend talking about you, etc. And I think it's pretty cool. I always like the idea of like people know about you that you've never met. You know what I mean? Like when people talk about you to others and maybe they've never even met you, it's a nice feeling. And yeah, like the idea that someone might know you, but they've never met you, but they know you because of other people talking. And I've had that happen a lot in my life. I've been very fortunate. Like I meet someone for the first time and they're like, "Oh, I've already heard like a ton about you from like all these people," and I'm like, "Oh, well, that's pretty cool." That's pretty awesome. So yeah, it's just it's a cool thing. So try to think about that. And like I always say like people naturally think bad things about like, oh, people are probably talking crap about me, but like think about it on the other flip side. Think about it like, what if people are saying nice things about you? They probably are. People are definitely, I know I talk about people a lot to other people. So like, think about that. You're probably getting talked about in a positive way more than you realize. So yeah, try to keep it positive like that. All right. So here's another fun little tidbit, but it also kind of pushes to the serious topic. It was something I was thinking about because I watched this movie and I talked about it on stream a little bit called The Substance. And it was a really gnarly horror movie. Very, very intense, crazy, horror movie. And like when I watched this, right, like all I could think was how much, and this is again talking about my friend that passed away in 2020, how much he would have loved this movie, and like how I wish that he was still alive and I could talk to him about this movie, because like it's just like it basically it's coming back to like how you really are a piece in someone's puzzle. And even if you're not necessarily like feeling like, oh, I'm not that important in their life, we all have places in people's lives, and we are all, everyone that we've touched in our lives, all of our friends and loved ones and whatnot, even if they're not like our best friend in the world, right? We are all a piece of their puzzle. And like, I think about that and like, yeah, like, sure. Like my friend, I'll just say like, his name's Ricky. So like Ricky passed in 2020 and like, we didn't have like tons of things in common. Like he was a friend of mine. But like every once in a while, like I see things and they make me like want to reach out to him. And I think of something that like 100% we would have like we would have laughed about, or we would have like connected on, and I would want to send it to him, but I can't. And so like, it's really important to remember that even if you're not best friends, you don't have like 50,000 things in common. You're not like, they're not your besties. You don't talk every day. A piece of you is missing. Like every time I see something that makes me think of Ricky and he's not here, like that's a piece of my heart, a piece of my puzzle that's missing. He's missing. And sure, like there's other people I can go talk about this movie with, or these other things I see about with, but like he is my puzzle piece for that thing. Like I know he likes this particular subgenre of horror, and like he would have loved this movie. And again, there's other people that like it, and there's other people I can talk to about this movie, but he was my puzzle piece for this, and he's not here. So it sucks. So like, I guess that's important to remember, that like, if you're feeling down on yourself and you feel like you don't matter, you don't want to be around anymore, like you are someone's puzzle piece, and you not being here would be a missing piece of their heart forever. So that's kind of what I do. I know people send me things sometimes that made me think of them, or made them think of me. And so I know I'm reminded that I'm a piece of people's puzzle. And if I wasn't around, who would they send? That I'm the person that they chose to send that to. So maybe if I was missing, they wouldn't have someone to send that to, or on that same level. Their puzzle piece would be missing. So I think it's just important to remember that, like, again, you are a piece of someone's puzzle, and you do matter. You really do. You matter a lot more than you think. And probably no one's ever going to tell you that you're an important piece of their puzzle. But by telling you like, hey, I saw this thing and thought of you, that's like you're a piece of their puzzle. Like if I see a Kingdom Hearts meme and I send it to someone, like they're a piece of my puzzle, right? Like I see a freaking art that makes me think of someone, like a certain animal. I see frogs, I think of Kelmori. Shit, If I didn't have Kelmori in my life, I wouldn't know who to send Frog. I probably wouldn't send it to anyone. So that'd be a missing piece of my puzzle, right? You know, like it's a silly thing in that case, but like everyone's pieces of a puzzle, and it's important to remember that you are a piece of many people's puzzle. Even if they're not your best friend, you are a piece in their puzzle, and it's important to remember that you matter. So yeah, that's just something I was thinking about this week. I really wish I could talk to Ricky about substance. I really do, and he's not here. I wish he was. So unfortunately, I have to live with that missing piece of my puzzle. But you know what? We keep on going on for the ones we've lost along the way. We keep pressing on for them. So yeah. All right. Another more serious topic is dealing with betrayal. A friend told me a story a few weeks ago, and this shook me to the core because I would never have expected this other person to betray them like that. And it was basically, they got fucked over by a friend. They put a lot into this friend, a lot of their heart, and more beyond their heart. But like, they really got fucked over by this friend who basically told them, like, essentially, you don't matter. And they really got fucked over. They put their heart out there, and they got screwed over. And I was really shocked to hear this story. And like, how do you bounce back from a betrayal like that? Like a core betrayal from someone you really put your all into, and they just basically said, yeah, you don't matter. How do you bounce back? And I think the important thing to remember about bouncing back from something like that is, like, basically, like, you don't give up on people. I see that from a lot of people saying, like, well, I guess people just suck and I'm done caring about people. Like, fuck everyone. Like, people just suck. That's not the truth. Some people do suck, and it's okay to feel like some people suck because some people do suck. And sometimes you put your heart into someone and they fuck you over, and that's okay. It's not okay, but in the grand scheme of things, it's okay in the sense that, like, there's other good people out there. And it makes you appreciate the good people more when you have such a bad experience with someone where they really, really screw you over and you're betrayed by them. It makes you appreciate the good people in your life. So try to take it like that, and try not to say all people are bad. Say that person was bad. I made a bad read. We can all make bad reads in life. Sometimes you think someone's not a bad person. Sometimes you think this is the greatest person ever, and they fuck you over. And that's okay. No one's perfect. None of us are perfect. None of us make the right read 100% of the time. And sometimes you made a mistake, and that's okay. You put your heart into the wrong person, and that's okay. It really, really is. And it doesn't feel okay, especially at the time you're feeling devastated. But just remember, there are good people out there, and a lot of people are good people. And try to think about the good people, and think about someone you really appreciate in your life. And it can be hard to do when you're, like when you basically you've had your heart ripped out, like someone really fucked you over. Like, but think of someone that's that's good to you. That's a good part of your life, and that's really is a good person. Think about them instead, and like, appreciate them. Take a minute to appreciate them. Do it right now. If you've had a bad experience with someone where they screwed you over, take a minute now and think about someone in your life who's really been by your side and who's been nice and loyal to you, and appreciate them. Like we don't always appreciate the people that are by our side long. Everyone's guilty of that. I know I am at times too, when you kind of just don't show the proper appreciation to someone in your life that you should. So, like, take a minute in your head, or even better, if you want to just go tell them that you appreciate them, go send them a message. That's even better. But if you're not feeling capable of doing that right now, you're not feeling up to it, it's okay to just think about them right now. Think about them and, appreciate them in your head. But even better, if you can find the power to go and to say that, tell them that you appreciate them. I mean, I did that one time this week. That person may or may not watch the podcast. So it's important to just say, you know what, I appreciate you. And that, yeah, sometimes there are bad people, but not all people are bad, and not all people are going to screw you over. There's a saying that, and it's kind of goes against what I'm saying, but there's a saying like, and it goes something like, everyone in your life will hurt you, but it's just about finding those that are worth sticking around. Let's see if I can find the exact quote. Everyone in your life will hurt you quote. Let's see. Yeah, it's from Bob Marley. The truth is, everyone's going to hurt you. You just got to find the ones worth suffering for. And, I mean, probably it's true. Like, no one's going to be perfect 100% of the time. So at some point, someone that you really care about will say or do, or they'll have an action of some sort that hurt you in some way. But if they've been loyal, you know what I mean? Like, if they have been loyal and your friend for all these years or whatever, and, you know, something happens and they make a mistake, you can forgive and you can, you know, have that conversation, and it's okay. None of us are perfect. We fuck up. And like, you have to be willing to forgive people, you know, and appreciate those people that have been by your side, even with their imperfections and all. I know I've fucked up. There's people that have been by my side for a long time that I probably haven't shown the proper appreciation to, that probably, you know, deserve a lot more appreciation from me. But we all fuck up, and I try my best, and we're all trying our best. And you know what? At the end of the day, appreciate those people that have been by your side, and try to show them appreciation, because not all people are bad. And yes, most people will probably hurt you in some way, but there's a difference between hurting you by, you know, like, oh, they made this comment, or they didn't invite me to this thing, where they weren't intending to hurt you. They, you know, oh, they didn't invite me to this thing, for example, and so that really hurt me. Doesn't mean that they were intending to hurt you. It just means maybe they had slipped their mind, or they just didn't think about inviting anyone else, or, you know, whatever it may be. But like, people will hurt you, but like, differentiate between people that are intentionally hurting you and maybe just, you know, made a mistake, made an honest mistake. And someone that blatantly tells you to your face, yeah, you don't really matter that much. Yeah, fuck them. They don't deserve to be a part of your life. But someone that maybe makes a mistake in your life or hurts you, you know, unintentionally, take a step back and say, I'm sure they didn't mean to hurt me in that sense. And if you need to, have a conversation about it as well with them. But yeah, basically, you know, appreciate the people in your life. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you need to hate everyone, or doesn't mean you need to treat everyone like that. Someone hurt you, that sucks. But you know what? You got to keep going and just funnel that angry energy into showing love to those people in your life that deserve it. You can be angry and hate, or you can use that energy. I use my energy when I have hatred. I just use it to funnel more positivity to people. And, you know, we can turn it into a bad thing, or we can spin it in a way that makes it positive. So try to take the positive spin if you can. And I know it's not always easy, but try. It's important. So, yeah. All right. And one final kind of serious, I guess, conversation topic-ish, because we can kind of relate this to some of the questions asked in the past, but I made a note of this. And the saying goes, and many of you guys might have heard this before, but maybe some of the non-English speakers maybe haven't heard this phrase. So I just wanted to basically say it. So the saying is, correlation does not equal causation. And what that basically means is, just because two things are related, it doesn't necessarily mean that one caused the other. So let me use that as an example, okay? So let's say you hung out with someone. Let's use that as an example, okay? We'll use this example. You hung out with someone. You thought it went pretty well, but like maybe you know, you're a little harsh on yourself. So now you're thinking like, maybe I was a little awkward here. Maybe I said the wrong thing. I don't know. Like maybe that stuff happened. I don't know. Like, I might not have been the best. So then the next day, your friend isn't feeling good, right? Let's just say they're not feeling good for whatever their reason may be. They're not feeling good. It had nothing to do with you. They really enjoyed their time with you. But let's say the next day they're not feeling good. And so then you message your friend the next day, right? And they're not feeling good. And so they respond to you kind of half-assedly. They don't really want to have a conversation. And so what goes through your brain? Oh my God, I really did screw up. I was horrible. They hated hanging out with me last night. They're never going to want to hang out with me again. Jesus Christ. Like, now you're combing through everything you said. Oh God, like I said this, I said that. Oh, I can totally see how that would have turned them off of me. Like, oh my God, I just ruined the whole friendship. I'm the worst. In their mind, all they're thinking is like, let's just say let's just say they woke up, they had a headache, and they just weren't feeling good. Like sometimes you just don't feel good in a day for no reason. In their mind, your friend's thinking is like, man, I really woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. I didn't feel good. I didn't have good sleep. But they're not thinking about you at all. They're like, they're happy you reached out, but they're just not feeling good, right? And in your mind, you're thinking, oh my God, I just ruined everything, because you're correlating those events. You're correlating, maybe there was an awkward silence at one point during your hangout, or something little that happened in your hangout, right? You're correlating that to, well, that means that now they're acting like this. That means they hate me. So the two events are correlated. I acted awkward, and now they hate me. But the events aren't correlated at all. Just because they happened to happen in this order, they're not necessarily correlated at all. That person might just be struggling. They might be having a bad month, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a bad day. Like they might be having a bad week, a bad few weeks, a bad month. It doesn't mean that those two events, like I had this awkward kind of hangout with them and now they hate me. It doesn't necessarily mean they hate you. Like they're just not having a good time. They're just not having a good mental health week or whatever. They love to hang out with you, but now they're not feeling good. And so you're thinking that they hate you. And so now you're acting different. So now like look at it like this, right? Look at it like this. This is a funny way of looking at it. All right. I hung out with my friend. I might have been a little awkward. So now I think that they hate me. I'm correlating those events because the next day they weren't feeling good and they talked to me maybe like they seemed a little off. And so now my brain is going, oh my God, they hate me. So now I'm going to act off, right? Because, oh my effing God, they hate me. So now I'm not going to be acting like myself because now in my head, I'm going to be acting depressed like, oh God, they hate me. So now they're seeing that. They know that they really liked hanging out with me, but now they're seeing that I am acting depressed now too, because I think that they hated me because of maybe they gave me a couple bad responses. So now I'm acting depressed. And now my friend is now thinking, oh my God, they hate me too. They hate me too. Like we had that conversation last night. I was a little awkward. And so now my friend is correlating these events that are completely unrelated as well. So now they're correlating two things that aren't correlated at all. I was acting depressed because I thought they hated me. They were acting depressed for some completely unrelated reason. And now we both think the other hates each other. We're both acting sad around each other. All the happiness in the friendship is gone. We both think we hate each other because we correlated these events. And that's what correlation does not equal causation means. Just because something like that happens, someone's acting off, or something like that happens, for example, it does not mean, like sometimes the events might be correlated. Sure, like they could be, but it's not a guarantee. And naturally, our brains jump to the fact that something went wrong. Naturally, they're acting off. We did something wrong. But it's really important to take a step back and remember that correlation does not equal causation. And until someone tells you, like, don't let them having a bad time, like, bring you down. Like, in the sense of, like, don't just assume the worst, right? So, like, until someone tells you that you did something wrong, don't assume. And that's the importance of, we talked about this topic before, but that's the importance of if someone does do something that hurts you, like, let's say on the flip side, okay? Let's say I hung out with someone and they made kind of a weird comment. Like, we were hanging out and they made kind of a comment that really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, they made a comment that hurt me, right? So they made this comment to me and they're not really sure like what happened, right? So they talked to me the next day like normal, but for me it's not normal because they made this comment and I'm not really sure what they mean by it, and I don't have the courage to say something, but I'm not going to be acting like myself, right? Because I just like my connection to that person was hampered because they made this comment and it rubbed me the wrong way, and I'm not going to say anything. So I'm just going to act kind of off, like give them short answers or not give them the full kind of responses that I normally would, right? So now in their head, they're thinking I hate them or that they did something wrong. They did, but instead of fixing it, where if I talk to them, maybe we could fix it, it's just going to be, they're going to give me bad responses. We're never going to solve it because I'm going to start giving them bad responses because they're giving me bad responses, and the friendship is going to fizzle away. So that's the importance of the two things. Number one, if someone does something that rubs you the wrong way, that matters in your life, or if they do something that hurts you and you care about them, you should speak up and talk to them about it, right? Talk to them about it, because if you don't, then you won't fix it, right? Don't assume. You can't assume. And that's the kind of the life I try to live, is like, I encourage, anyone here who listens, if I hurt you in any way at all, at any time, if you're an important part of my life, if we're friends, tell me so that I can be better. And if we can possibly fix it. Maybe it's unfixable, but we can try. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. But on the flip side, like, I can't just assume that it's important for me to be reflective. Like, if I did something blatantly horrible to someone, like, yeah, I should be able to see that. But like, if I just made a silly comment, for example, and I didn't even realize I made the comment, like, I can't know every comment I made over the course of a night. So if I said something bad that stuck with you, I'm relying on you to tell me, right? Because sometimes in my life, I've made like what I thought was a minor comment, and it stuck with someone important in my life for years. And I never realized, because for me, it was just a minor comment. But for them, it stuck with them. And if they would have just had the conversation with me sooner, we could have, like, I could have absolutely fixed it and said, you know what? I really did fuck up, and I shouldn't have said that. And my apologies. Like, I didn't even realize I said that, but that was a stupid thing to say. And I'm so sorry about that. And I hope that you can forgive me, and I hope we can move past this. That's the importance, right? That's the importance, that you could have fixed it. And so basically, yeah, like, if someone does something that hurts you and you care about them, you owe it to them to have that conversation, because they probably want to fix it too. In my cases where I said something stupid, I would have 100% apologized and been genuinely remorseful and like fixed the friendship. But since they never said anything to me, the friendship fizzled away. If they would have just had the small conversation with me, it wouldn't have been easy. It would have been a tough conversation, but we would have got through it. I am so confident of that. So that's why it's important. You owe it to your friend. If they matter to you at all, have the conversation. Don't let them linger. And so that's why I try to live by the fact of, like, correlation doesn't equal causation. If they don't tell me that something bothered them, I can't just assume that everything I've ever done bothers them, because we all assume that, right? Anytime we all hang out with anyone, we naturally assume, like, yeah, they probably hated hanging out with me. But if you don't tell me that I did something wrong or that you didn't like hanging out with me, how am I supposed to know or get better? So, like, that's the important part. If someone really matters to you, you owe it to them to have that conversation, so that they don't have to live in that forever state of, like, thinking that the events are correlated. Maybe they are. Maybe that person really doesn't like you because you said something wrong during the course of that night that you don't even remember saying. But maybe they don't. Maybe they're just feeling bad. Maybe they're going through a few tough weeks or months. You never know. So that's why it's important. I try to live the life of, like, I try to not treat people different. If they're acting off, I try to act relatively the same until they tell me something is wrong, until they find the courage to say, Raichu, you did this that hurt me. Until they tell me that, I can't just assume everything I've ever done hurt them. So I highly implore you, if you're listening to this, anyone in my life, and most people that listen to this, I think are going to be my friends or people that are important in my life. If I ever do something that hurts you, I'm really, really open to receiving feedback and being better. So if I ever do something that hurts you, I highly implore you, unless you just don't care. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you're like, whatever, the friendship fizzles, then it fizzles. But, like, if you really care about being my friend, I hope that you would have that conversation with me, because I want to fix it. If I care about you, I never, ever, 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 ever want to hurt you. So if I did hurt you, let me fix it. I want to fix it. So really, that's all I can say is, like, give your friends a chance to fix it. If they do something wrong, don't force them to live in that world of thinking, like, that something bothered you. So just assume your friends, I guess what it comes down to at the end of the day is correlation doesn't equal causation, and assume until proven otherwise that your friends are being honest with you. And if they have a problem with you or you did something wrong, that they'll talk to you, because that's the only way that anything's going to be solved. If they don't talk to you, how can you fix it? How can you? You can't. So I think that's about it, guys. I hope that made sense. I hope that was, I know it was kind of a heavy topic, but be honest with your friends. If you care about them, honesty is the best way you can show that you care. Being honest with them about their flaws and their good things. I always talk about the honesty of, like, telling your friends what you like about them. But if your friend does something wrong, you owe it to them. If you're going to be honest to them about their good things, no, like people want to hear only their good things. But if someone does something genuinely treats you poorly in this way or does this thing wrong, like talk to them, help them be better. I always want to be better. So if I've done something wrong that's hurt you, or if I can be better, tell me, please. Honestly, please tell me, because I want to be the best me that I can be. And that's how we help each other get better. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. All right, I think that is the end of the podcast for this week. We are over the 2-hour mark, so we will call it there. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I think we had some good conversations this week. A good mix, I think, this week in particular of some lighter topics and some heavier topics. So I hope that you enjoyed. If you didn't, then, well, sucks to be you. Just kidding. I hope you enjoyed, though. I really do. I really hope you enjoyed. And also, just so you know, if you're listening this far, I do realize I didn't fix the studio this week. It's been a busy week, so I do want to fix it. I'm not sure when that'll happen, but I do want to make this space nicer where we can sit and chat in. So maybe I'll make it fancier. I will make it fancier. I don't know what the timeline on that will be, but I hope to do it soon. But don't be angry at me if I'm taking too long. Please don't be angry at me. Please, I'm just a sensitive guy. Please don't be mean to me. But yeah, any hoodles, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the Discord. As you hopefully know, in the Discord, there's a channel called Podcast Discussion. Is that what it's called? Podcast Discussion. So I hope you'll go in there and you'll type me some words, because that's how I get better too. If you say I really like this segment or I really didn't like this segment, that's how I can get better. So help me to be better on the podcast as well. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead. I love you very much, and I hope to see you on the streams this week. Take care.